Okay. Alrighty. So tonight I just wanted to talk to you guys from the heart a little bit. So most of you, well, not all of you know me. I'm Lisa Sears. I have struggled with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, for, oh gosh, years, since I was a teenager. And I am coming up on my 32nd birthday. So it's been a struggle for a long time. It's, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a hormonal imbalance. It causes all kinds of issues, from weight gain to anxiety and depression to acne like a teenager, hair growing in weird places, and then also like infertility and all kinds of situations with your natural cycle. So I have pretty much had it under control and managing it pretty nicely. However, I have found that doing a lot of cardio kind of throws my body off. And I was really excited about size, so I was killing it with size every day. And even though it's like super fun, it was killing my body. And I ended up stopping it like 4 days short of finishing it, which, if you know me, is not like me at all. Like, I'm one of those people that if I say I'm going to do something, like, I'm there, I'm going to finish it. And so I ended up not finishing it because it was really throwing my body off. And my last month, I had like a really, really long cycle. For me, that's not good. That's always a bad sign when, you know, you go 38 days or more without a period. And so I went back to PIO. I went back to eating really well, making sure that everything was tight. And this month, luckily, I had a much more regular, normal cycle. However, I have experienced some really weird symptoms this month, including like a really short cycle. For me, like, I never have a super short cycle. Usually women with PCOS have terrible cycles. So I had a really short cycle. And then I had like a crazy headache for 3 days straight, which usually to me means that there's a hormone off. Usually it's estrogen. And then I also went through like 2 or 3 days of depression. Today was like the first day that I've been normal in a long time. For like 3 days, my poor husband has had to listen to me like cry and be a crazy person. I know some people that's completely normal for their cycle, but for me, it's just not. Like, I don't have the mood swings and stuff. And so I've really been struggling the last few days. And it's funny because it's a lot of things all together, but the biggest part of it has been comparison. And so, you know, I'm talking to my husband, and he's being very kind and walking me through it. And he ended up mentioning that I should talk about this on the team call. And so I thought it would be really great. For you, those of you who don't know, I've been coaching for, oh my goodness, let me look really fast. It's like 16, 17 months, something like that. And so it's been a little bit. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 months. I'm into my 17th month right now. So I've been coaching for a little while. I've gone through all the seasons now. That was always interesting my first year. I signed up in June of last year, so 2014. And it was really interesting to come in during the summer and then go through the fall. Typically, if you guys just signed up, they consider the fall like one of the harder times because, as you can imagine, people are all interested in pumpkin spice everything, all the treats and delicious goodies. We're basically from Halloween until the end of the year. People just are not thinking about their health. They're digging into their kids' trick-or-treat baskets and enjoying all the like comfort foods of Thanksgiving and just indulging, all the Christmas parties, all of that stuff. And so for me coming in, I was like, I didn't know that this was a tough time, so I didn't treat it as such. And it's funny because this year I seem to hear people talking about it constantly, you know, like, oh, fall is so hard. Fall is really hard. Keep pushing. Like you'll be fine, but fall's just a tough time. For me last year, it really wasn't a tough time. And I think it all has to do with your mindset. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about mindset and how it can go a long way. And then also talk to you about the different seasons and kind of how to plan out your year now that I've been through it for a full year and I'm coming back around and starting to use some of the same strategies. And then I also wanted to show you guys a progression of my monthly income so you can kind of see the ebbs and flows. And I wanted to kind of show what I was going through at the time because you'll see it reflected in my business. It's really interesting. That's why I was typing up a graph because I had never thought to do that before. And it's pretty incredible seeing it. So I started coaching June of last year. I was a challenger and a coach all at the same time. I just went ahead and signed up, and then I went through my first month and I just shared about it on social media, but didn't really talk about being a coach right away. I waited towards the end of the month and then shared my progress photo, and I was terrified. I had only had a baby 7 weeks before starting my first challenge, and so I had these like bright red stretch marks. And being a Christian and being a pastor's wife, I was terrified to put myself out there, and I didn't know what kind of backlash I was going to get for putting my before and after photos up. People can be pretty harsh, even though knowing my heart and knowing where it's coming from, clearly not trying to be sexual in any way with my bright red stretch marks. And so I was terrified, but I put it out there. And in that first month, I ended up making, I ended up making almost $400, $396.15, because I ended up having a ton of my friends that were just desperate for something. They were looking for something. We're in the middle of summer still. And so, people, even though they're vacationing and all of that stuff, like there's always highs and lows with every season. And even though they were vacationing and all of that, like they were desperate for something to change. And so just by sharing my progress every day, this is kind of a testament to the consistency that we talk about all the time with social media. If you're sharing your progress openly and honestly on social media, people are watching and they're following you, and they're going to be inspired by you. It's just a matter of you continually showing your progress. Like literally almost every single day, I was putting a picture up of either my healthy meals, my Shaco, whatever recipe I was trying, because I had the mixed package one, so I could try all the different things that I wanted to try. So I was sharing my Shaco. I was sharing my pictures of working out, either just me or me and my husband, or me, my husband, and my kids. Like I was just showing how real life was working using the 21-day fix. And I was just praying that God was going to open some incredible doors, and he did. That month, I also signed up my husband as a coach. And so I had bought the PIO Challenge Pack because I started with 21-day fix. I bought the PIO Challenge Pack that month. And so that month, it paid for both of our challenge packs, plus gave me at least $100 extra after all the different fees and everything was taken care of. And so I considered that a huge win. I was like on cloud 9 by the end of my first month. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm going for it. Like I had never expected. I had a Getting Started Right call with Becca when I first started. And one of the things she asked me was, Lisa, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Like in 6 months from now, what do you want to make? Previous to this, the only thing I had done at home was crocheting like hats and random things for people in the church. And I would charge like $10 a hat. So if I got, $20 or $50 in a month, I was ecstatic. So when I told her, I'm like, my big, hairy, audacious goal would be like, I don't know, $500 a month. So I'm saying that, and then she kind of like giggled a little bit, and I was like, okay, is that like not a big deal to you? Because to me, $500 a month is life changing. I'm a stay-at-home mom on an income with just a pastor salary. Like, we're not talking lots of money here. And so that was like completely life changing to me. And so when I told her, she's like, yeah, I think that's a very realistic and doable goal. I definitely think you can hit that sooner than you think. So when I hit $400 in my first month, even though only really $100 of that was profit after paying for our challenge packs, I was thrilled, because in my mind, like, that means that my Shakeology and Josh's Shakeology is paid for next month. Like, I knew that I could make at least that much more. So I continued sharing my journey. I continued, posting every day. At this point, people knew that I was a coach. I started getting, I feel like the first couple months can go one of two ways. They can either be really, really hard because you're afraid to put yourself out there. And so you don't share very much about it because you're afraid of like nagging your friends, or, I don't know, afraid of something, putting your face and body out there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. There's fear behind it in some way, but it can go one of two ways. It can either be you get hardly anything because you're afraid to put yourself out there, or you frigging rock it and you like kill it because you're sharing your journey honestly, and people relate to that. And they're like, hey, there's this girl that I've been talking to forever, and she's sharing her journey, and if she can do it, so can I. And so I feel like you go one of two ways. So whenever I see people rocking it the first month, I'm like, that's awesome. Now let's see if they keep it up, because it can be easy to rock it your first month if you share it. But then sometimes, we sit back on our laurels a little bit. We're like, oh, okay, I made decent income, so it's going to be easy this next month. And so I kind of had that mindset going into it. And, the next month, I still did decently. I made $299.57, which I was still very happy with. In my book, I still paid for both of our Shakeology, and I still made another $100. And so, and I had helped a couple more people. I had some more prospects for the next month from people who had said no, or not right now, or, I got to get the cash together. Totally understand. Like, we are on a tight budget too, so I felt really good about that still. Meanwhile, Asher at this point was 3 months old, and in August, the very next month, my third month of coaching, he decided to stop sleeping. Like, he went through this 4-month sleep regression that ended up lasting until 9 months. Guys, I was at my wit's end. If you have ever been a mom of a child that does not sleep, would not sleep during the day except for maybe a 20-minute nap in my arms, and then at night would not sleep for more than 45 minutes at a time, and then we'd be up for an hour and a half, and then 45 minutes, and then up for an hour and a half. And my husband's working full-time, so he's exhausted and angry every time the baby wakes up. I'm absolutely cannot hold my eyelids open, exhausted, just miserable, guys. This is something that would put any normal person into a depression. It's like a torture tactic from China, is to keep people awake for hours and hours and hours on end, days on end. And I literally felt like my baby was torturing me. And so I had hit Success Club my first month. I hit Success Club my second month. And I was bound and determined. I'm a business builder. I'm going to make this happen. I had set goals, and I was going to make them happen. Well, we get to August, and honestly, I felt like complete death. I was following up with people, and they were telling me no, and I was just so miserably exhausted. I had no time to myself. I would try and put the baby down, and he'd finally go down at 10. I'd work for 2 hours because that was how long he'd sleep at the very beginning of the night. I'd work for 2 hours, then he'd be up for an hour and a half. And by that point, it's 1:30, and literally I'm just drained and tired. And it got to the point where I had to call my husband home from work because I was on the brink of a breakdown during that month. It got really, really bad in August and September. And there were so many times during that time that I just wanted to quit. Like, it got to be the 20th of the month and I had 0 Success Club points. It got to be the 25th of the month and I'm still not sleeping and there's no Success Club points. And I just kept telling myself, like, this is a season. Eventually he's going to crap out. Eventually I'm going to have time to work. Like, I just kept telling myself that. But I literally, even though you tell yourself that, sometimes, like, you get to a point where you're like, I'm not even really sure if I'm telling myself the truth. Like, am I lying to myself at this point? Because I feel like it. And so I was way overstressed. I was way overtired. And it got to be, like the 30th of the month. And in August, there's 31 days. And I'm just like, I'm crying to my husband. I'm like, I could get my free summit ticket if I could just hit Success Club this month. I was reaching out to everyone. I reached out to my family members. I'm like, somebody please help me. And it's funny because looking back at it now, I'm sure that when I reached out to those people, they could just smell the desperation on me. Like, I was broken in so many ways, like mentally, emotionally. It was the first big goal I was about to lose out on, because when I first set out to be a coach, I was like, I'm going to hit Success Club every month. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to make sure that I'm moving my business forward no matter what, no excuses, And so when I said those things and I got it the first 2 months and I was killing it, guys, like, I had the most Success Club points in Team BTFP besides Becca. Like, I was just doing really, really well. And so I was very proud of myself. And then I hit this roadblock with him not sleeping, and my attitude changed and I was exhausted. And I went through August. I remember it was August 31st at night, and it hit to 10 o'clock. And Becca's like, people who are winners don't quit until like midnight. Like, they keep going no matter what. And I was in tears. And Josh finally said, Lisa, it'll be okay. Like, if you're meant to be at Summit, then we'll find a way for you to get there. And I'm like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to pay for it, I swear. Like, crazy emotional mess because I wasn't sleeping. And so I was just like so disheartened and broken down that I didn't hit Success Club that I literally almost quit. I was not sleeping and I'm like, this just isn't even worth it. This isn't worth it, guys. Like, I was like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, I'm not getting any sleep and you're going to bed, because I'm like crying to my husband, right? You're going to bed and I'm staying up and I'm still not sleeping. I can't do this. I'm being crazy. And then the funniest thing happened. The next day, on the 1st of September, I told myself, okay, I'm going to take this day and just like sulk. I'm going to sulk in all my misery. I'm going to just let it like be a horrible day and like go through all the emotions. And I've told some of you guys this before too. I'm like, you know what? If you didn't hit a big goal, like, take your moment, grieve it, but then like think about it and think about what you can learn from it. And so that's what I told myself this day. I was like, if I'm going to keep coaching, today's the day I'm making the decision. Like, today is the day of like, you either pull yourself up by the bootstraps and make it happen. You sulk, you deal with whatever you're dealing with, figure out what went wrong and what you could have done. And if there's nothing that you could have done, like with my son sleeping, there's nothing I could have done. There are other things that I could have done that I learned about, like how I could talk to people, and a few other things, but like there were things that I could control and there were things that I couldn't. And I just had to let those things that I couldn't control go. And the things that I could control, I needed to learn from my mistake and fail forward. And so I told myself, I'm like, I'm either going to make it happen tonight. Like, today is the day where I let it all go and then make a decision. Like, am I going to coach or am I not? And during that day, one of my challengers messaged me and told me about some incredible blood work that she had gotten done. I guess her company does like these health checks every year. And she had just gotten hers back and she had already lost like 20 something pounds. So she was like, addicted to it at this point. She's like, I can't believe this is amazing. I haven't been this weight since I was in junior high. Like, she's telling me all these things. Meanwhile, this lady's 62, guys. Like, she's not young. And so when she says she's hit the lowest weight she's been since junior high, I'm like rejoicing with her. Then she sends me these test results, and it's all about like her cholesterol, her bad cholesterol went down, her good cholesterol went up, her A1C levels went down. Like, she's in great health. She got stunning reviews on this health questionnaire thing, blood work, whatever you call it. And all of a sudden, I literally like tears started coming down, and I was like, okay, I can't quit because she's counting on me. Like, all of a sudden, I took on all the stress that I had been taking on the month before. I let go of, and I took on that victory that my challenger had had. I had obviously already experienced my own victories. At this point, I was probably down 15, 17 pounds, something like that, which for me was absolutely amazing with PCOS. It's super hard to lose weight. And so just being down that, like, I had already had my own victories. But sometimes when we're down in the dumps and we're like really sulking and not in the right mentality, it's easy for us to like lose sight of our own victories and lose sight of the positive things and the things that God's doing in our own lives. But when we have other people that we're pouring out to, and then all of a sudden they come back to us and they fill us back up with those, good news, those praises, those, I can't believe this. I'm so glad you introduced me to this. Thank you for helping me and pushing me through it. Like, when you hear those, the real life-changing things, and take a minute to take the perspective or take your eyes off of yourself and put them on someone else or the good things that are happening in life, it's amazing, the perspective change. So really quick, let me show you guys the graph. Oh, where is it? There it is. Of my income, and we're going to go through it. So I told you that June of last year, I made $396.15. I thought, woohoo, I'm on cloud nine. July, I made a little bit less because I thought, easy street, this is great. Like, I'm going to kill it. And then, I still did well. I made sure I hit Success Club, but I didn't do the greatest because I just thought it was going to be easy. And then August, I hit clearly my lowest income that I've ever had. For the month, I made $178.94. And I was so depressed about this. And then September came around, I let myself sulk, and then that one message changed it all around for me. And I had heard this other, I had done my personal development. Imagine that, guys, when you're down in the dumps doing personal development and it helps. It's amazing. I had done my personal development, and I had heard, I think I was actually listening to old National Wake Up Calls, and Scotty Hobbs was on one from a long time ago when he was only like a 3 or 5 star diamond. And he talked about gratitude, and he talked about a certain book. I can't remember what it is now. I'm going to have to go back and look at it. But he literally starts every day with his personal development. And he's a Christian, but he starts with personal development, and then he does journaling for 20 minutes or something like that. And the first thing that he does is write down 3 blessings. And so I challenged myself. Guys, Asher still was not sleeping, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, he's not going to get through this right away. Like, this is a stage that we're in. And it was rough. He was in this until January, guys. Like, it was forever that we did not sleep. He was in this for a long, long time. And so I just told myself, I'm going to control the controllable. I'm going to control what I do with my time. I'm going to control what I can do and what I can control. So the way I talk to people, how I spend my time, my priorities. And if you look, like, my income didn't just exponentially grow during this period of time. It kind of stayed relatively even, but it slowly did go up. I'm an emerald rank at this point, so I'm making team bonus cycles, and that definitely helped keep the income up, but I wasn't growing leaps and bounds at this point. Sorry. But I just kind of made a decision that I was going to change my focus. I was going to change the way I looked at things. And so every day I had a calendar, a daily planner, and I would put in my 3 things that I was grateful for, and it could not be the same things every day. So it was really, really tough some days when like I'm waking up and I'm so miserably tired. I can't even think straight. And I'm like trying to come up with new things that I'm thankful for when really I just kind of hate life. And so it was a big push for me, but it really helped change my days around a lot of times. And it helped me with being able to connect with people on Facebook, because I would talk about those things. I started talking about, I didn't want to be somebody who complained on Facebook all the time. I don't think those people are inspiring, and I definitely don't want to follow them. I've got my own problems, so I really don't want to follow people that are just complaining all the time on Facebook. And so I didn't want to be that person, because I wanted people to follow me. I wanted people to, get their eyes on my posts. And so I needed to find a way to turn it around, because I was starting to post less and less because I was so miserable in my personal life. And not sleeping, and just my outlook was crappy, that I ended up just not posting anything on Facebook, which that doesn't really help you either, or your business. So I ended up, could I break this down by TV and personal? Yes, I will. I didn't get a chance to yet, but I will, Beth. I'll break this down so you can see how much of it was Team Bonus Cycle and how much is just commission. Where was I going? I talked about, or I made it a point to change my mindset every day. And then I would talk about that. And so I would talk about like, okay, so Asher still didn't sleep last night and I woke up in a really horrible mood, but you know what? This verse stuck out to me. Or I committed to saying 3 things that I'm thankful for, and these are the things why. And like I went into detail, and it really did help me change my mood around. And then I would write at the end something like, so what are you thankful for today? Or what is your biggest blessing today? And it really helped. It really helped me change my mentality, and it helped my friends and family connect to me too, because they related to me. I was relatable without being complaining, if that makes sense. Like I kept it positive. And I think people are looking for that in their everyday life. And I don't think like we as coaches are just stuck to health coaching and like fitness. Like how about total body realignment? And so I started focusing on that. And as you saw, like through fall last year, I really didn't have a problem. Everybody kept talking about how, it's the harder time of the year, but I just kept my eyes focused on God. I prayed a lot. I prayed that God would bless my business and bring the right people and help me to speak to them in the way that they needed to, and help them share. And guys, people will open up like nobody's business. And so at this point, it became a ministry for me, because I was not leaving the house very often with my baby not sleeping and being horribly crabby. And so I wasn't leaving the house very often. And so coaching became something else for me at that point. It became something about community and ministry and getting to reach out to people, because like as a pastor's wife, I was no longer doing a whole lot of ministry. I was actually doing a lot more of sitting back with the baby that was really crabby, that I was with all the time anyway. And so I found it easy to get really down in the dumps, but I decided to just kind of change that around. And slowly my income picked up. September 582, October 615, November was really good because it was a longer month, 858. And then December, I started getting nervous again because I only made like maybe $200 up until Christmas. Christmas was like, well, maybe I had made $300, about $300 for the full month up until Christmas. And I was like, I hadn't hit SC at that point. I had maybe had 2 SC points, and I had made it a goal to hit SC 10 every month. So after that really crappy time when I didn't in August, I was like, this is it. I'm going to hit SC 10 every month. So I did it in September, I did it in October, I did it in November, and then we get to December and I'm like, no, I don't want to ruin my streak, because if you hit a C for 12 months in a row, you become, a Success Club All-Star. And if you do it for 24 months in a row, then you become a Success Club Legend. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's a little bit of recognition. It's not going to earn you any extra income, except for the fact that it's going to move your business forward. And so if you're moving your business forward, clearly you're earning more income. And you can see, my income definitely started going up. So December, I started fretting and getting really worried and nervous. But I made a plan and I stuck to it all of December. I posted a workout photo every single day in December. You guys can go back and look, and I literally did day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, all the way through. And so these people, even though they were like just liking, or every once in a while somebody would comment, I didn't get a lot of interaction. They were definitely watching, because come December 26th, between December 26th and December 31st, I made like $500, which was the biggest check I had ever seen at that point, for 1 week. And so that was a huge bonus for me. And everybody kept talking about this resolution effect. And I'll definitely be speaking to you guys about it here soon. But I definitely saw the benefit of all of my posts and all my hard work through fall, and especially in December, because in January I got a huge rollover where people were just coming to me. We're in a business that we're really lucky that we have a peak season, and that would be January, February, and into March. People are all about fitness. They're trying to figure out how they can get healthy in the new year. They may start with one thing in January, and if they can't, they may start with a gym or something, because the gym has this really great deal. And so they'll start with a gym in January, and if they're not seeing results, they may come around to you in February or March. So it may take a little while, but you do see this big boom in January and February, and then into March. And then if you notice, February was a short month, so that's why it looks like it's a little bit lower. But March, I actually really struggled. I did not hit Success Club for the first time in March, and I had that same panicky feeling. Like, I don't know how many of you guys get this, but about the 15th of a month, a lot of times if I don't have 4 Success Club points on the board, then I start getting this panicky feeling. And then once I get that, like, it seems like everything kind of goes downhill, and I start comparing myself to everybody else who's in the business right around the same as me. That means my Success Club partners my Success partners, and then like Becca and everybody else. I just start comparing myself like a crazy person. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but people say all the time that comparison's the thief of joy. And if that is not the truth, I don't know what is. And so every time I take my eyes off of my own work of what I was doing and started looking around at everybody else, that's when you'll see this drop of income, like this little dip, because I'm like too busy focused on everybody else, and I'm not focused on what I'm supposed to be doing and my challengers. And so March, there was definitely a drop, and I didn't hit Success Club 10 for the first time, and I cried. But I did hit Success Club 5, and so I just, at that point, I was like, you know what? I can't change the past. I can only pick up and move on from here. There's been so many times where, like, a coach that I really thought was going to be a rock star would quit or just stop coaching, and it would really like just kind of break my heart for them, because I know how much it could do for their family. And then I kind of would spend too much time on them and trying to get them refocused, when in all honesty, I can't do it for you guys. Your coach, your upline, they can't do it for you. You have to do it for you. Like, you have to want it. You've heard this about drug addicts many, many, many times, of like, your family members can't want it for you. You have to want it for yourself, and you have to really hit that bottom point of like, this has to work. There's no other plan for it to really work. And so I have unfortunately been through that many times. I've been through the whole like, oh, so-and-so dropped rank, which made me drop rank. And so, I'm going to sulk and cry a bit, or this coach just quit, and it makes me really sad because I know they could be incredibly awesome. And so I want to throw in the towel and cry and give up. But then I look back and I remember Becca showing us her income as she was going through. And I remember her talking about her difficult times and her difficult moments. And there's going to be difficult moments in coaching. I'm sorry if you're brand new and you think this is all daisies and roses, like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there's going to be difficult times. There's going to be times where you don't hit your goals, and it's okay. You just got to fail forward. Every successful person that's ever lived in this life has had failures. They've had big failures where they completely flopped. And yeah, they wanted to give up. But the difference is not giving up. The difference is continuing on and making sure that you keep pushing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up to this last week. This last week, we're at, what day is today? The 18th. We're at the 18th, and I'm sitting at Success Club Zero. I started having some of those same feelings. My hormones were all out of balance, and I was just a big ball of stress and craziness. And my husband kind of brought me back down to size, and he was like, Lisa, look back over what you've accomplished. Look at how many times you wanted to fail or you've wanted to quit and you didn't give up. And then what big booms there were right after. So March, I wanted to give up, and then look, boom, April hits, big boom, right? And then I had a rough month in August. I hit some good goals, but I didn't do anything incredible, but I had sown a lot of seeds, and I was getting frustrated because I was getting all these no's, and I'm not used to getting that many no's. And so I'm getting all these no's, I'm getting frustrated, and then boom, September happens, and it's a big, spike back up. And so just using that as fuel to your fire and continuing to reach out and help people, because the biggest thing is not thinking about them as numbers or thinking about them as, just challengers to add to your groups. It's all about people. It's about helping people. It's about seeing them hit their goals and honestly being super excited for them and being their biggest support system, because a lot of these people do not have the support at home. They may not have a spouse that's super supportive. They may not have parents that are super supportive. They may have not super ideal situations at home. But with you being there and the group of ladies or gentlemen that are in your groups, being there to constantly support them and say, yeah, I know what it's like. I've been there too, and you can do it. You can push through. Having that is like a golden ticket to health for a lot of people, to life. And so when I take a minute to take the eyes off of me and what's going on in my business and my situation, I start comparing myself to other people, then I stop and I have to refocus on my challengers and what they're doing and the victories they've hit. And then also, I was talking to Alicia last week, and this is just one last thing as I wrap up. I'm going to get all Bible-y up in here. My husband and I were missionaries in El Salvador, and we worked with college students that would come down for the summers. And one of our jobs was to lead their devotionals and help train them. And one of the devotionals that my husband did, several years ago, we're talking 4 or 5 years ago now, that will always stick in my brain, is he talked about how in the Old Testament, if you look, every time that God did something huge, it'll say that they built an altar to remember what the Lord did. And it's like a small line, one small verse at the end of this big story. And so a lot of people just kind of skip over it. Okay, so they built an altar. Great. They must have sacrificed the lamb and moved on. When they say built an altar, they're not talking about just some small barbecue pit. I don't know why, but for some reason, for the longest time, that's how I imagined it. A little barbecue pit where they sacrificed an animal and then moved on. I don't know. That's just how I thought of it. But Josh actually explained it, and he said that, they were these huge boulders and big rocks and structures that they would build. And, they didn't just last for 10, 20 years. They would last for hundreds of years. And so you got to remember that all the tribes of Israel, like they were nomadic people. And so they followed the herds, they followed the grass and different things. And so, they weren't staying in one spot for very long, and they didn't have written language at this point. Like everything was storytelling, and that's how it was passed down. And so every time that God did something, they would build these altars, and then, 50 years later, they'd be walking by and, a little boy would say, "Hey, Daddy, why is that one over there? What's that mean? Like, why are all those rocks over there?" And then, the dad could say, "Son, let me tell you about what God did when I was a kid. Like, let me tell you about what God did for your grandparents or your great-grandparents." And that's how they were like little reminders. Every time that they would walk by them, they were reminders of things that God had done for the people. And so he challenged our interns through the summer to come up with different experiences. Because if you've ever been on a missions trip, there's certain things, certain life-changing experiences that will happen that will literally stick in your brain for the rest of your life. And he challenged them to like come up with just a couple, like when they happen, be like, that's an altar in my mind. That's a memory of something that God did, or something that somewhere where God used me in an amazing way that I can always look back to and say, if God did it then he can do it now. If God brought us through this situation, then he can do it now. And so when he said that, I just really loved that imagery. And we've used that in our personal lives. Being missionaries, a lot of times, we really had to rely heavily on faith for income to come in or different things to happen. And, we would just tell ourselves, okay, if God did it then, like we have never a day gone without a roof over our head or food in our belly. And if God's done it then, when we were broke at this point, then he'll do it now. And if God was faithful with Kai, my first son Kai was born in El Salvador, almost died. It's a whole long story, but if he was faithful to heal him and do the miracle then I know that he cares about us now. And so kind of bringing that back around to the business, you can kind of think about it in your journey, because if you're new now, know that these moments will come up. And if you've been a coach for a while now, you can probably easily look over your past, 5, 10, whatever months you've been a coach, and find those ups and downs, those, hills and valleys. And you can look back and be like, if I did it then, and if God was faithful with my business then what's he going to do now? Like if I could pull through then and this amazing thing happened right after, then I can pull through this really tough time now, because I know something amazing is coming sooner or later. Like it's coming soon. And so I just want to stop there. Oh gosh, there is. I just want to stop there and switch back over. Why is it not letting me? There it is.